A little bit about your interfaith involvement. What motivated you to get involved in interfaith and community services, etc.? I mean, I know you are involved in the masjid, and you guys do a lot of masjid community services, so that we know, and you do a phenomenal job there by leading the ladies and coordinating all the social activities at Jamaat al-Mu'mineen in Coral Springs. But tell us about what motivated you to get involved in interfaith activities.
Well, as I said earlier, my dad was very instrumental in propelling me into this area because of the fact, as he got sick, he said to me, you know, Safiya, 9/11 is happening, and there's a lot of activities happening in the city that they'd like the masjid to be part of. And with me being sick and having all the doctor's appointments, I think this would be a good time for you to get involved. So I would say my dad was instrumental in passing the baton on to me to be involved in the community outreach, being involved with the city of Coral Springs. I became a member of the Multicultural Advisory Committee. That committee hosted a Eid al-Adha event at the Coral Springs Library. And that's where I met the Jamanal folks. Kathy Leonard. Yes, Kathy Leonard, Judy Greenberg, all of the ladies, and most of them were women there at the Jamanal event. This was a Eid al-Adha for the community. And the ladies were very nice, and they said, why don't you come and join our Jamanal Interfaith group? And at that time, I was just starting the Multicultural Advisory Committee, and I thought to myself, this might be a little too much. Came home, discussed it with my husband, and he said, well, go ahead, give it a shot. What do you have to lose? Husbands are always supportive, aren't they? So I did. And Jamanal took me to a different level of understanding not only my faith, but all of the other faiths. The misconceptions that I had, the disbeliefs and not understanding, Jamanal brought a bridge that opened my eyes to so many great things, because we are children of Abraham. And as Muslims, as Christians, as Jewish individuals, we all believe in the oneness of God. And we all believe in praying and giving charity and fasting. And surprisingly to me, I had no idea that we all shared these common beliefs. Jamanal was able to propel me to understand that there's more we have in common that we can expand on, learn about, understand. And in doing this, the Jamanal group had many of living room dialogues with women that we discussed these commonalities, but it also grew a love and an attraction for each other, that we were sharing stories, personal stories that brought us together. And you know, Maulana, the most important thing is it grew trust, understanding, and love, something that we need a lot more out there in the world. And I felt Jamanal was exactly what I was looking for, because it brought these three things out in me, and that was out there in the community. It was in the grassroots, yes, but there was so much more to be done.
Right.
Because 9/11 had just happened. And as such, the Muslims were not very favorable at that time. So we, coming out there and meeting with our Jewish sisters and our Christian sisters, it allowed us to build up a lot of trust and understanding between us. Now, in the 20 years of Jamanal that has gone on, we've done so much together. We've had living room dialogues that then migrated into peaceful pairings, where we would pair neighboring masajids and temples, synagogues. And it took us through a curriculum that took us 3 years, where every month we would discuss a different topic from the curriculum that was put together by the Jewish Reform Group and the Islamic Society of North America.
Right.
Okay, so they created the curriculum. And each chapter talked about different things that we all have in common. It had questions and answers. It also allowed us to share our views. We invited our imams or the rabbi to come or the reverends to come and share in the discussion when it was a little too technical for us. But it really broadened our horizon from a Muslim perspective, from a Christian, and from a Jewish perspective. And as such, those friendships that were formed has now lasted 20 years. So much so that we changed and we evolved from the peaceful pairing and we started to have interfaith cafes.
What's the interfaith cafe about now?
So the interfaith cafes where we would go to various restaurants and have a discussion. Now, what brings us all together but food?
Yes.
So we would have dinner or we would have coffee and cake, and it would take the level of conversation to another level in the sense that we would talk about what was going on in the world, but staying away from the political aspect. And of course, there we go again, where we're bringing more understanding, more clarity, and more trust as to how people feel on these various topics that we discussed.
Interesting.
So that lasted, the Interfaith Cafe lasted approximately 2 to 3 years. And now we're at the stage where we're now doing video conferencing. So we have dialogue once a month. There are various topics that we discuss. It's on the
and that's all because
internet.
of the COVID. You got to get on Zoom and video, etc.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. COVID has brought us to another level of technology.
Definitely. Oh my goodness.
It's a wonderful thing, mashallah.
Yeah.